My boss stole my promotion and I took his job. So here's the thing. I, 30 male, have always been the type of person to put in the work. I'm not one to sit back and expect things to fall into my lap. I put in the hours, worked through weekends, learned everything I could, and did whatever it took to prove myself. But no matter how much I gave, how much I put into the company, my efforts were always overlooked. I worked at a mid-sized marketing firm for about 4 years, and during that time, I did everything you could ask for. From client presentations to campaigns that led to huge client renewals, I was the guy my bosses turned to when things were tough. But no matter how much I put in, I was constantly passed over for promotions. Enter Michael. Michael was the senior manager, older, more experienced, but honestly, he wasn't anything special. He was one of those guys who liked to talk a big game and act like he knew everything, but if you looked closely, you'd see that he was just good at taking credit for other people's work, and yet, somehow, he was always the one in line for the promotion. Meanwhile, I, who had single-handedly saved a multi-million-dollar campaign when it was on the verge of collapse, was passed over again. I was promised a future promotion for all my hard work, but every time the position came up, Michael was the one they chose. And each time, the excuse was always the same. Michael has more leadership experience. I started to feel like I was invisible. The breaking point. I remember the day it all changed. It was a Monday, and we had a big meeting with the CEO and the board to present a new marketing strategy I had been working on for months. I'd spent weeks putting everything together, data analysis, projections, a full marketing plan, the works. I was confident. This was my moment to shine. But as the meeting went on, something felt off. Michael was there, of course, and he was doing his usual shtick, nodding along, offering vague suggestions, pretending to be in the know. But I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Michael was presenting my strategy. He was presenting my ideas as if they were his own, using the same data, the same charts, the same slides I'd prepared. He even took credit for the entire plan in front of the CEO, acting like he'd come up with it himself. I sat there, completely frozen, as my hard work was stolen right in front of my eyes. When the CEO turned to Michael and said, "This is exactly the kind of innovation we need from you," I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I stayed silent. I knew I couldn't let my emotions get the best of me. After the meeting, Michael came up to me with a grin on his face and said, "Great job, kid. You've got some solid ideas, but you need to learn how to sell them better." He'd completely gaslighted me into thinking that somehow I wasn't good enough, that I was just the support for his brilliance, that he was the one leading the charge, even though it was my work. At that moment, something inside me snapped. I realized I couldn't keep letting this happen. Michael wasn't just taking credit for my work, he was blocking my path to success, and I wasn't going to let him do it anymore. The plan begins. I decided then and there that I wouldn't just let this slide. I wasn't going to quit, or just leave like some disgruntled employee. No, I had a better idea. I was going to take his job, but not in the way you think. First, I spent weeks gathering information. I started working on an internal project, something Michael had no interest in, but that would matter to the board. I knew that Michael had always skated by, relying on his reputation, not actual results. I dove deep into the company's financial records, dug through previous marketing campaigns, and found a major weakness in the way Michael handled things. His team wasn't performing as well as he claimed, and the numbers weren't adding up. I created an audit report, one that was meticulously detailed, highlighting all the areas where Michael had failed. But I didn't just leave it at that. I also found a way to improve every issue I'd uncovered. I crafted a proposal for a new, better approach to the marketing strategy, and I knew it would blow Michael's out of the water. But here's the kicker. I didn't go to my boss with it right away. I waited. I let Michael's arrogance build up. I let him continue pretending that he was untouchable. And then I made my move. The turnaround. One day, we had a quarterly review with the board. It was Michael's moment to shine. As usual, he tried to take credit for everything, boasting about the successful campaigns under his leadership. But when he presented the numbers, I saw it. There was a glaring error in the data, something that would make the whole department look bad. I stood up during the meeting, asked to speak, and calmly pointed out the discrepancies in the data. I presented my audit report, complete, with the improvements I designed. I didn't accuse Michael outright, but it was clear to everyone in the room who had the actual knowledge and skills to run things. Michael's face turned bright red. The board was silent. The CEO glanced at the COO, then back at me. After what felt like an eternity, the CEO finally spoke. "We'll need to discuss this further, but I think we need to reconsider our strategy moving forward." Michael tried to backpedal, but it was too late. His reputation was in shambles, and mine? Well, I'd just earned a spot as the leading voice for the company's future strategy. That's when I realized this wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about proving that I was the one with the real vision, and if I played my cards right, I was about to take Michael's job. The moment of truth. The meeting with the CEO and the board left a bitter taste in Michael's mouth, but I knew the real battle was just beginning. Michael, being the type of person he was, wasn't going to take this lying down. In fact, I knew he'd try to save face by doubling down. He'd never admit his mistakes. That was the kind of man he was, stubborn, prideful, and ultimately destructive. Over the next few weeks, I watched as Michael tried desperately to get his footing back. He met with the CEO multiple times, making all sorts of excuses for his performance and trying to salvage whatever reputation he had left. But the cracks were already showing. The board had started to question his leadership. They were looking for someone who could actually deliver results, not just make empty promises. Meanwhile, I kept my head down and kept pushing forward. I didn't just want Michael's job. I wanted to prove that I was the one who deserved it. I took on more responsibilities, helped with strategic planning, and delivered results that no one could ignore. One day, about a month after that disastrous meeting, I received an email that made my heart skip a beat. It was from the CEO. The subject line read, "Let's have a private meeting. I'd like to discuss your future at the company." I didn't hesitate. I knew exactly what this was about. The final blow. The meeting was set for the following day. I walked into the CEO's office with a sense of calm confidence, but inside I was buzzing with anticipation. The CEO, Sarah, was already sitting behind her desk, looking thoughtful. She motioned for me to sit down. "I've been reviewing the work you've done over the past few weeks, and I have to say, I'm impressed," she began. "You've gone above and beyond, especially with the audit and the new strategy proposals you've presented. The board has noticed." I felt a wave of pride wash over me, but I kept my emotions in check. I had worked so hard for this moment, and I wasn't about to let it slip through my fingers. "There's just one issue," she continued, pausing, as if to choose her words carefully. "Michael, well, he's been with the company for a long time, and his position is hard to ignore. But we're at a crossroads, and I think it's time we make some changes." I held my breath. My heart was pounding, but I didn't say a word. "The board and I have decided that we need to restructure. Michael will be stepping down from his role as senior manager. He's been offered a new position, one that's not as demanding, and we would like to offer you his position as the new head of marketing." I couldn't help but let out a small breath of relief. The promotion was mine. I had done it. I'd taken everything that was stolen from me, every ounce of hard work, and turned it into an opportunity. But there was more, much more. "We've been following your lead on the new campaigns," Sarah added, "and the results speak for themselves. The board believes you have the potential to take this company to the next level. I'm confident you're the right person for the job." It felt surreal, like I was hearing something that wasn't quite real. After everything I'd been through, the stolen ideas, the sabotage, the lies, I was about to take the job Michael had spent years holding on to. And the best part? He had no idea what was coming. The aftermath. In the weeks that followed, I settled into my new role as head of marketing. the company's numbers skyrocketed, and the new strategies I implemented brought in more clients than we'd seen in years. The board was happy, the CEO was thrilled, and I was finally where I belonged. As for Michael, well, he stuck around in his lesser role, but it was clear that the respect he once commanded was gone. People started to see him for what he was, just a man who took credit for others' work and never truly delivered. There were rumors that he'd be leaving the company soon, but to be honest, I didn't care. He'd gotten what he deserved. The final thought. It's funny how life works out sometimes. I spent years grinding, doing everything right, and still getting overlooked. But in the end, it was my integrity, my refusal to back down and accept being treated like a nobody that got me the job. Not Michael's manipulation, not his empty promises. I didn't just take his job, I earned it. And that, to me, was the sweetest revenge of all.